So today I'm going to start, and I don't know if I'll get all the way through this. If not, we'll continue it on Thursday. But again, kind of keeping in mind the theme for those of you that are participating in our 8 o'clock sessions, turning a lead into a client. I wanted to kind of piggyback on that theme. And the topic for today and possibly continuation on Thursday is what I would generally speaking call buyer first appointment success. Okay, so the goal would be for you to make that positive first impression, to be able to continue working with a buyer. So who here has heard the analogy in the dating world of someone knows whether or not they want to start a relationship with you within the first 3 minutes of your time together with them? Y'all have heard that I don't know if it's, what do you call it, urban myth,
Yes.
rumor, whatever the case may
Yes.
be, but we've all heard it. Well, it is, I contend to you that it is also true in the world of real estate. A buyer or a client will know within minutes whether or not they want to do business with you. So keep that in mind. Manuela, I'm going to mute you so that we can change the screens. Okay. So does anybody want to fight me on that one? No? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, so topic, buyer, first appointment success. All right, so you have the opportunity to make that very first impression, to know whether someone wants to do business with you. Okay, so here's the theme that you're going to hear from me frequently and often, and anybody that's done any classes with me in the past knows one of my all-time favorite sayings, if you will, is confidence without arrogance. Okay, keep that in mind. Make that the basis of your interactions with somebody. Confidence without arrogance. All right. So let's talk about your initial appointment and the buyer presentation. So this is big picture overview, and then we're going to go into details on each one of these. Okay, so in anticipation of your first meeting with a client, key is preparation. Then you've got that first home showing opportunity, a buyer presentation. Then you ultimately want to show more properties and schedule your next appointment. So, okay, so that's big picture steps, and we're going to dive into each one of these as we go along. Okay, so in preparation for your first meeting, you're going to have at that point printed out the property in which you're showing them in that very first appointment. Memorize key things about the property: price, age, square footage, bed bath configuration, days on the market. You want to have your printout of your FMLS or Georgia MLS page. My favorite one to print to take with any showing that I'm doing is the one page complete. So that gives you all the information. It's a bit of an eye chart for those of us with eyes like mine. But all the information that you're likely to need about a property is there. I typically don't print anything more. Theoretically, you could print like the realist tax and even more information about that. I find that just about 99% of the time, the one page complete is all you need to know. Okay. Have an opinion already at that point about how the home is priced. Is it priced high? Is it priced low? Is it at the market value? Conduct a little mini CMA if you can and should, because you are the expert. All right. Always show up about 15 to 20 minutes early to be able to preview the property and drive through the neighborhood, so you got a little bit of an idea of what's going on. You know, look for the other comps that you may have already seen in the neighborhood. Does everybody have Home Snap on their phone? Home Snap is a great way to look and be able to know what other homes are within your neighborhood. And you can literally zoom to the map and click on where you're at, and it'll show you all the homes that are currently active within that same neighborhood, or within a certain distance of where you're at. Can't tell you how many times I've done that where, you know, somebody drives through the neighborhood and they're like, well, the house is not really what we were looking for because of the backyard or whatever. But we like this neighborhood. And then you can go, well, there's 3 others on the within the same neighborhood that are active on the market right now. Would you like to go see them? Okay, so knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you're able to communicate your value to your buyer, the better off you are going to be in the long run. Okay. Arrive at the home before the client and walk the home. I've already said, show up 15 to 20 minutes early and preview any other neighborhood, but obviously show up at that house and have already gone through, turn the lights on, you know, make sure that, I hate to say this, make sure the toilets are flushed, and silly things like that are things that will separate a good real estate agent from a bad one. Okay. And be prepared to show that you are the local neighborhood expert. Even if you don't know that neighborhood very well, you know what, you have tools and resources available to you in the form of things like showing time Home Snap and others, to be able to know what's going on in the marketplace. And if you're able to communicate your value to them as being a neighborhood expert, whether it's that subdivision, whether it's, you know, the town of Marietta or Roswell or whatever, then you're going to be able to communicate that value to them, and you're going to be more valuable in the long run. If there's any safety concerns whatsoever, if you have any red flags by any means, and if I haven't said this before, I'm gonna, this is so important. I'm actually going to stop sharing and I'm going to look at you face to face. Okay, especially ladies. If you have any red flags at all in your interactions with anybody, client wise, trust your gut. Don't fall into a false sense of security. If you have a concern about your safety, about opening a home to somebody that you've never met before, that gives you the heebie-jeebies, trust your heebie-jeebies. Okay. And do not go. Call me, call the broker on call line, arrange to meet at a neutral place. I'm going to have an entire class on this in the coming weeks, so watch out for this one coming. Ask the client to take a picture of their license plate or their driver's license and text it to you before they arrive. Okay, these are all techniques and things that we can do to make sure that we are safe. It's been many years, but there has been incidences of real estate agents that have been in unpleasant situations because they met at a house that they did not feel comfortable at. Okay, are we good with that? Okay, but going back to my slides. Here we go. But if you need to meet at a neutral place, you know, like a local Starbucks or, you know, at a Quick Trip or something like that, before you go to the property. I should have mentioned that even before this. Okay. Any questions on that so far, folks? Okay. At the actual showing, so your goal is to be friendly and interested in the client. Your ultimate goal is you want to make a connection with that person. You want to, to show that you are interested in them. Okay, I've got background noise. Where's it coming from? Can everybody mute for me? Manuel, if you can mute, there you go. Thank you. Ultimately, your goal is you want to make a connection with that client. Okay, and you don't make a connection by focusing on you or your resume or how many clients you're working with or how busy you are. You make a connection by expressing interest in who they are, what their needs are, and displaying genuine interest in the client. Okay. Um, you can do things when you're touring the house, like explaining things like construction material, siding type, roof, kitchen, all those kinds of things. I am one that I'm going to go even one step further, and any of you that have done showings with me, I am one to point out issues or potential problems with the home. Okay, and I'll tell them straight up. Look, I'm not a used car salesman. I'm not going to be standing in front of the scratch that's on the fender. I'm going to be the one that's pointing out the scratch on the fender, because ultimately I have your best interest in mind, and I'd rather you be aware of the fact that there's a stain on the ceiling in the kitchen. Maybe the bathroom is upstairs. That may or may not be a problem, but if you do business with me, you will receive a home inspection, and we'll evaluate whether that stain is a problem or whether it is not. Okay. Everybody familiar with the Ford methodology? As you're making that connection, Ford is an acronym, and it's right there in the first bullet: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Okay. If you use those as your ability to make the connection with the client, and form things, guide your conversation in the form of questions. So, is the home for just you and your wife, or do you guys have kids that didn't come with you today? And that's a great question regarding the occupation. So how does this house relate to your commute distance? Do you work from home, or are you traveling, trying to get within a certain distance or a certain radius of your work? And then that generates the question, okay, well, what do you do? Okay. You can talk to them about things like what do they do in their spare time? Do they need a parking spot for their boat that they take to Lake Lanier every weekend? Dreams is one that's like, if you, Mike was talking about this last week in the, sorry, I'm having a brain cramp, in the practice sessions this morning. If you say, so what are your hopes and dreams? You have completely lost somebody like me. However, if you say, okay, so what would your ideal home look like? If this is not your ideal home, what would it look like? What would make, if this home is on a scale of 1 to 10, if this home is a 5, what would it take to make it a 10? And then you can find out what their aspirations are. Okay, well, we really would like a swimming pool. Okay. So those are some questions that you can ask in each one of those categories. And by all means, take notes. All right. Because what you're going to do is, after you meet these people and you've got notes about what are their kids' names, if they needed a backyard for their dog Rufus, I'm going to write down Rufus, and I'm going to come back to my office and I'm going to put their contact information into my CRM. And the next time I talk to them, I'm going to ask them, hey, how's Rufus doing? Talk about building a connection with somebody. That's the way to do it. All right. You can communicate to them that you showed other active homes down the street or in the same neighborhood. Obviously, you don't want to lie. I'm not telling you that you need to be disingenuous with them. That's why you arrived 20, 30 minutes before, because you drove the neighborhood, and maybe you dropped in on one of those other homes. All right. Discuss the home market value. Tell them, what the comp sold for. Discuss the seller's market that we are currently in, and in a highly competitive environment for nice homes like the one we're standing in right now, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. There is very likely to be multiple offers. Does that make sense? Okay. And of course, gear your conversation towards their level of interest. If they walk in and they immediately turn their nose up, then I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time trying to sell them on this house, and I can focus in on what the next one is. All right. Be the expert. Okay. Your goal is to communicate your value to them and do so in a way that is not braggadocious, but genuine, and display the services that you provide. Be that expert. It's 50% expert and 50% connection with them. All right. I tend to try to be a little bit vulnerable at times, and I'll introduce little concepts about myself, but I don't make the entire conversation about myself. They need to be able to connect with you at some level. So if you find common ground of, hey, somebody that's, for me, common ground would be anything dealing with my two grandsons. So if I'm dealing with somebody that is like, well, we need a swimming pool so that our grandkids will come over. Well, by golly, that's the connection I'm going to make with them. So, and I guarantee you, I can find a connection with just about anybody on any level. We all have something in common. You just got it. Your job is to find it and make that connection with them on it. Okay. All right. So when you have finished walking through the home, guidelines for me when I'm actually walking through the home, and I don't have any slides on this, but I'm just going to tell you, I stay nearby, but I don't hover. Okay. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have, but I'm not here to, be the, the Nazi in the room, making sure that you don't steal somebody's watch off their bedside stand. Okay. All right. But when you get finished with touring of the home, you want to guide them back towards the kitchen. The saying that I always love to use is, they say that all good decisions are made around the kitchen table. So I tend to like to gravitate towards the kitchen. And whether that's, leaning against the bar above or at the sink or whatever, that's a great place to have the next part of this conversation. Okay. Let your new buyer know that you have some information for them that they might find helpful, and tell them you just want to cover a couple of quick points and maybe answer a couple of their questions along the way. Okay.
Do you have an example of something that might be helpful? Because I'm thinking we've already talked as we're walking through the house, so forth and so on, and they've got the list of homes that we're going to go see, and I've already gone down the list with them. So
what do you mean? You have some information that might be helpful? You're looking for suggestions on that?
Yeah.
Oh, brother, that's going to be the next slide. You know me.
All right. Cool.
Okay. No problem. So that is when you guide them back towards that kitchen and you say, okay, so I just wanted to take a minute or two to talk about some information that I've got for you. And that's when you pull out your buyer presentation folder. Okay. And who did I do? Tracy, it was you that I did this with, wasn't it? Last week.
Yes.
Okay. So Tracy and I put together a buyer presentation folder. Everybody knows that we have these very attractive folders that you guys can use. Hang on. Everybody see these? It's got a nice little slot in it for your business card. And then you can fill this out with as much or as little information as your heart desires. My goal would be the more information in there, the better. Okay. Your level of professionalism goes up by 10 degrees if you present to them professional information that has been personalized to them, um, and something that they can walk away with to be able to review later. Your professionalism goes way up. Okay. The last thing that you want to do is be an Uber driver with a super
But
key that is
I
opening
did steal it.
doors.
It was over there on the thing.
Is Charlene, can you mute?
I'm
Is that
sorry.
Charlene? You're okay. There we go. Okay. And so that is where, if you've got nothing else that you want to put in your folder, here is the one piece of information that I would recommend that you put in there. All right, besides your business card, is present your toolkit CMA, buyer presentation to guide your conversation with that client. There are tons of things that you can and should put in your folder. And I'm actually going to be working on kind of a sample folder that I'm going to keep right here at the desk that you guys can come review, look at, and say, okay, I should put this in there, or I want to put that in there. And so that you can refer to that at any given time. Okay. But at a minimum, Toolkit CMA, in about 30 seconds, you can put together a very nice professional looking, something that looks, more like a guide or a service plan, that is customized with your client's information and with your information branded to you. And it is an absolute vital tool. Okay. So you present the Toolkit CMA and use that to guide your conversation with them about communicating your value. Okay. In that Toolkit CMA, there's a great little tool in there called the Home Finder's Profile. You can use this as your note-taking, guide, if you will. So you can actually pull this out of there and use this to take your notes on the client. At some point in this process, in order for you to schedule future appointments with them, if you don't have their email address, you're going to want to get their email address. If you've only got the husband's email address, you're going to want to get the wife's email address. Okay. So this is a great place where you can keep your thoughts together, keep the names of your people that are involved, what areas they're interested in, what price range, what bedroom configuration they're looking for. You can keep all of this information right there, and it's right there in your Toolkit CMA buyer presentation. You can go through, I don't recommend that you read every single slide in that presentation to them, but I recommend that you use it as a guide to steer your conversation in the right direction. You can use it to introduce the concept of buyer representation. And this is a direct slide that comes right out of that, or direct page right out of the Toolkit CMA. Put an experienced buyer representative to work for you. Here's where you can introduce buyer representation. I'd love for you to consider formally hiring me to represent you through the process of purchasing a new home. Casual, simple. You're not trying to strong arm them. You are there to offer a service. And if you are doing a good job of communicating your value to them, they're going to want to do business with you. Okay. And you don't have to strong arm them. You don't have to say, well, you have to sign a buyer's brokerage agreement to work with me at this point. You have to earn that right. You have to communicate your value to them first. Okay. And this is where you can guide that conversation. So as an experienced representative, I'm going to provide you with tools and resources to do the search for the property that you're interested in. I have the tools and resources to be able to look at what's going on in that neighborhood. I'm going to do a market analysis in preparation for preparing an offer with two goals in mind. One, get you the best possible deal, the best possible value for the home, and at the same time have the highest probability of your offer being accepted. I'm going to negotiate. I'm going to handle all the details for you. I'm going to refer you to experts in the mortgage industry and the home inspection industry. All of those things are ways that you can communicate your value. Okay. I am going to break here because next week we're going to continue this, separating yourself from the competition. We're going to tie up the loose ends on this, but I am at our time limit for now. Guys, were you looking at me that entire time? I didn't have the daggum slide up. Why didn't y'all say something?
Just for the last one. I put it in the chat. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I hope I wasn't like picking my nose or anything weird like that either.
No,
okay. Sorry about that, folks. You know this is live.
We appreciate you.
Right.
Thank you.
No problem. So here's what I'm going to do. Just like always, if you know what, I'll just go ahead and put the slides up on the when this gets posted to Workplace. I'll go ahead and put my slides up there, seeing how you missed a couple of them. And then we'll pick up from there next week. Does anybody have any burning questions, issues, concerns, anything you need help with?
Hey, Jay.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to make a comment because I found it very helpful. Whenever you were talking about, obviously, we have the nice Century 21 folders for our clients. And whenever I went on a showing with you, you had your own just regular folder with their name on it, had all their information.
Yep.
And I did that. And I just wanted, in case anyone else didn't know, it was extremely helpful. And I don't know if they noticed that their name was on the folder or not, but it just felt more official, professional. Exactly. Yeah. So in case anyone else didn't know that yet, I just wanted to share the information because I thought it was great.
Good. Absolutely. If they see that you're, when you show up with your folder, your this folder inside of a folder that's got their name on it, the message that you're sending is, I'm a professional, I'm organized, I am thoughtful, and even if they're the only client that you are doing business with, this conveys the message that I have so many daggum clients that I have to keep folder names on them because otherwise I'm gonna get you mixed up with somebody else. Okay, that message is veiled underneath of many layers of other things, but it's there. So again, you are professional, and your goal at this first meeting is to convey your value to them, to solicit their business moving forward. Okay. Yeah. All right, we're 3 minutes past. Thank you guys for your attention and for your time. I hope this was of value to you. Take a look on Workplace for the slides that I bumbled and missed. Apologies for that, and we'll go from here. Next time, flag me if I'm not showing you the daggum screen, okay? All right, thanks everybody. Have a great day.